Brilliance Audio presents Dispel Illusion by Mark Lawrence. Performed by Matthew Froh. The two saving graces of explosions are that from the outside they're pretty, and from the inside they're quick. The one I was in was taking forever, though, and had none of the fiery goodness of the typical Hollywood offering. When time explodes, it tends not to create exciting fireballs, and most of the shrapnel inside the Winston laboratory was crawling through the air at a pace that would make snails look zippy. I was closer to the detonation than any of the others, since I'd been running towards the array of electromagnets with the intention of turning them off. Dr. Ian Creed and a lab technician named Dave were another 10 yards further back, and a scattering of researchers stood among the workbenches another 10 yards beyond that. The huge magnets had been reduced to jagged iron shards, and were being flung out on trajectories made hard to predict, owing to the powerful magnetic fields still trying to haul them back together. My brain had skipped a beat between running towards the assembly and being hurled back by the leading edge of the shock wave, and my next coherent view of proceedings had been as I hung in the air, apparently frozen in place, facing a similarly stationary array of sharp metal, brought to a halt some small fraction of a second before, which thankfully avoided them punching a variety of fatal holes in me. It took, or seemed to take, an age before my body time caught up with my brain time. The fracturing of the time led to all the various components of the explosion following their own internal clocks, and, while the distribution appeared random, it was clear that the living pieces in the mix were operating on the fastest clocks. My father once told me that the equations that govern the universe don't care about now. The mathematics of time don't care about now. They just ask what value you want to set t to. There's a special connection between consciousness and time. Einstein said, "Time is an illusion," and the great Douglas Adams had even greater doubts about lunchtime. The more I dug into the mathematics of time, the more I found I was digging into the connections between the universe of atoms and fields and the universe of wet, squishy consciousness. Life in general, and human intelligence in particular, had once seemed an inconsequential complication in the world of physics. But the more we learned, the more intelligence had revealed itself to be a fundamental mystery at the heart of everything, deeper than the dances of stars and galaxies. As mentioned, I had a lot of time on my hands while waiting for my body clock and brain clock to synchronize. When at last the former caught up with the latter, I struggled to get my feet on the floor and began to run. The thing about being incredibly fast compared to your surroundings is that it doesn't really work like it does in the comic books. The air doesn't want to get out of your way. It's still on slow time, and running at 300 miles an hour is just as hard as standing still in a super tornado with 300-mile-an-hour winds trying to knock you down. Plus, the floor can't give you the friction you need to accelerate. It turns into an ice rink while the soles of your shoes melt. Dr. Creed and Dave weren't moving as fast as I was, but they were moving a hell of a lot faster than everything else in the room. I saw them try to shout questions, but of course by the time any sound they made reached my ears, we would all be mincemeat. Further back, the rest of the staff were still as statues. The fact of the explosion hadn't even registered on their faces yet. I ran, but my progress seemed painfully slow. It was exhausting too. By the time I reached the first bench, panting and gasping, I was thirsty and bored. The fear and adrenaline had been run right out of me. I reached for a plastic cup of coffee that hung frozen in the moment on its way to the floor. Dry-mouthed, I tried to take a swig, but the plastic fractured beneath my fingers, unable to drag the weight of coffee through the air towards me at the speed I wanted it. Even if the cup had been made of iron, the liquid would have refused to pour at any rate that wouldn't make a glacier look swift. As I wrestled with the cup, A jagged shard of iron passed sedately beneath my arm. Shit!